Money isn't magical. It's just obedient. It listens to the rich because they actually give it instructions, while the rest of us treat it like a rebellious teenager and hope it behaves. Spoiler, it never does. 1. The rule of ruthless clarity. Rich people always know exactly where their money is going. Rich people follow this rule like it's a religious commandment. If your money has no job, it will leave you. And guess what? They're right. Wealthy people track their money with the intensity of a jealous ex refreshing an Instagram story. They know what goes in, what goes out, and what dares to breathe without permission. Meanwhile, the average person opens their banking app once a week like they're defusing a bomb, sweating, panicking, hoping the numbers magically rearrange themselves. And the funniest part? They still act shocked when the balance looks like a crime scene. Rich people treat every dollar like a tiny employee. They assign tasks. You go to investments, you go to tax strategy, you go reproduce. Nothing is random, nothing is accidental, nothing is, oh, it felt right in the moment. They don't rely on vibes, they rely on spreadsheets, which, ironically, produce much better vibes later. And here's the punchline. Rich people don't become rich because they track money. They track money because they refuse to be financially surprised. Broke people treat budgets like optional homework. Rich people treat it like survival. One gets stress, the other gets wealth. 2. The rule of never paying full price for anything except privacy. Here's the wealthy person's favorite trick. They act allergic to retail prices. If something costs $100, they won't buy it unless they can pay $60, write it off, depreciate it, or somehow convince the universe that it should technically be free. Rich people don't save money. They hunt discounts like they're tax-deductible big game. But here's the paradox that makes this rule iconic. They will overpay, aggressively, proudly, outrageously, for one thing only: privacy. A broke person will spend far too $200 on a new phone and complain about a $4 privacy subscription. A rich person will negotiate a $40 million estate down to $32 million, then pay $500,000 extra just to make sure nobody knows they bought it. Why? Because wealthy people understand that privacy is leverage, and leverage is money. If people don't know what you own, what you earn, or what you're planning, they can't interfere, judge, beg, manipulate, sue, or give you an opportunity. That's really a financial sinkhole wearing a smile. Meanwhile, poor people flex every purchase like a public service announcement and then wonder why judgment, pressure, and unsolicited financial advice flood their life like spam emails. Punchline? Rich people bargain on luxuries and splurge on invisibility. Poor people splurge on visibility and bargain with consequences. One path builds power. The other builds Instagram stories. 3. The rule of buying time before buying things. Here's a rule rich people follow religiously. They buy time first, possessions second. Middle-class people love saying time is money, while simultaneously wasting both scrolling TikTok on their lunch break. Rich people, on the other hand, treat time like a limited edition luxury product, because it is. They outsource everything that slows them down: cooking, cleaning, scheduling, replying to emails, waiting on hold with customer service, and sometimes even thinking. And here's the wild part. They don't see it as laziness. They see it as resource allocation. If rich people can pay someone $25 an hour to do something so they can spend their time doing something that earns them $250 an hour, guess what they choose? Meanwhile, broke people insist on doing everything themselves to save money, then collapse into bed wondering why life feels like a treadmill powered by disappointment. Example: a wealthy person sees a 300-month meal prep service and thinks, "This saves me 10 hours, which is profitable." A broke person sees the same service and says, "I can cook at home," and then spends their Sunday making sad pasta, scrolling Instagram, and complaining about not having time to rest. Punchline: rich people buy time so they can make more money. Poor people buy things and sacrifice time, then wonder where both went. Time is the real currency, and the wealthy are the only ones actually investing it. 4. The rule of making money. Sleep less than they do. Here's a rule that should be obvious, yet somehow isn't. Rich people never let their money rest. You sleep 8 hours? Cute. Your money shouldn't. Rich people treat every dollar like a tiny insomniac hustler who must work 24/7. That's why wealthy people invest aggressively, not emotionally. They don't wait for the perfect moment or market signs or the moon to be in the seventh house. They put money into assets because money sitting still is money dying. Meanwhile, broke people keep cash in checking accounts like it's a museum exhibit, untouched, uninvested, slowly losing value to inflation while they brag about being safe. Safe from what? Growth? A rich person sees $10,000 and immediately thinks, how do I multiply this? What can this buy that pays me back? What asset will babysit this money and raise it into a responsible adult? A broke person sees $10,000 and thinks, what do I deserve after working so hard? Maybe a trip? Or a new couch? That's the difference. One spends, one plants. Punchline: rich people force their money to work overtime. Poor people give their money weekends off. Guess whose money gets promoted? 5. The rule of saying no. More often than yes. One of the richest rules rich people live by? No is their default setting. They say no to overpriced food, no to useless subscriptions, no to impulsive purchases, no to lunch meetings that could have been an email, no to people who drain their energy, no to anything that doesn't push their life forward. Meanwhile, broke people say yes, like it's a reflex. Yes, I'll help. Yes, I'll buy it. Yes, I'll come. Yes, I'll lend you money even though I'm drowning. Rich people understand something crucial. Every yes has a price, and every no creates space. They don't care if someone feels offended. If something doesn't align with their goals, schedule, or sanity, the answer is a swift corporate-level decline. Example: a wealthy person receives an invite to a business opportunity dinner. They decline before the appetizer. A broke person goes, buys drinks, listens to a 3-hour pitch, then signs up for a subscription box they didn't want. Rich people protect their time, money, and mental energy like a fortress. And ironically, that's why they end up with more of all three. Punchline: the poor fear disappointing others, the rich fear wasting time. Only one of those fears builds wealth. 6. The rule of leveraging other people's skills. Instead of competing with them, rich people know a secret. You don't need to be good at everything. You just need to hire someone who is. Middle-class people love the "I'll figure it out myself" mindset. It sounds noble, but in practice, it's expensive and exhausting. Why spend 40 hours learning tax law when you can pay someone who already mastered it? Why struggle through YouTube tutorials when a pro could finish the job in 40 minutes? Meanwhile, broke people think learning everything themselves is smart. It isn't. It's self-inflicted poverty disguised as independence. Rich people build teams, advisors, assistants, agencies. They delegate weaknesses and double down on strengths. They aren't intimidated by someone knowing more. They're thrilled. It means less work and more results. A wealthy person sees a complex problem and asks, "Who already solved this?" A broke person asks, "How can I torture myself for 12 hours until I emotionally collapse?" Punchline: being self-reliant keeps you alive. Leveraging other people's genius makes you rich. 7. The rule of treating every dollar like a soldier in a long-term war. This rule is brutal, but brilliant. Rich people treat money like an army, not a souvenir. Every dollar has a purpose. Invade new territory, claim assets, produce reinforcements, defend the empire. Nothing sits idle. Nothing wanders. Nothing wastes time. Poor people treat money like confetti. Throw it around whenever there's a moment to celebrate. Friday, payday, birthday, someone else's birthday, random Tuesday energy. I deserve it. YOLO. Why not? Rich people expect returns. Poor people expect dopamine. A wealthy person sees money as a weapon. A broke person sees it as a reward. That difference alone determines their entire financial destiny. And here's the part that stings. Rich people win because they plan long-term. They think in decades. They let money compound, grow, and amplify. Meanwhile, broke people focus on today. The next purchase, the next moment of comfort, the next excuse to feel good for 5 minutes. Punchline: money is loyal, but only to those who treat it like a disciplined army, not a party decoration. 8. The rule of letting boring things make them rich. Rich people. Follow this rule like it's the cheat code of life. Boring makes you wealthy. Exciting makes you broke. while the average person is busy throwing money at whatever shiny new opportunity screams the loudest. Crypto mascots, hype stocks, drop-shipped miracles, kitchen gadgets destined for the trash. Rich people quietly pour money into the most yawn-inducing assets on the planet. Index funds, bonds, diversified portfolios, real estate they barely visit, businesses they don't manage, systems that run 24/7 while they sleep in designer pajamas. Nothing flashy, nothing thrilling, nothing you'd brag about in a group chat. Meanwhile, broke people chase excitement like it's an Olympic sport. They want investments that feel fun. They want adrenaline. They want fireworks. They want the dopamine hit of believing they'll be rich by Friday. Rich people want results, not entertainment. They understand that fun and fortune do not coexist. They don't need their investments to make their heart race. The money does that just fine. Example: when the markets dip, broke people panic sell. Rich people buy more, shrug, and go play golf. Punchline? If your portfolio excites you, it's probably a financial dumpster fire. The rich get rich by being bored for decades and paid for it. 9. The rule of staying invisible until it's too late to stop them. Here's a rule every wealthy person understands deeply. Real money moves quietly. While middle-class people scream, "I got a raise" on Instagram, and immediately upgrade their lifestyle like they're starring in a low-budget music video, rich people operate like financial ninjas. Silent, strategic, completely undetected. They don't announce success. They don't brag about purchases. They don't flex to get approval. Why? Because visibility attracts problems. Jealousy, expectations, leeches, urgent opportunities, and every cousin you've never met asking for a tiny loan. Rich people keep their moves hidden until their success is so massive that no one's opinion matters. They buy assets anonymously. They register companies quietly. They move money through structures the average person can't pronounce. Meanwhile, broke people flex every accomplishment 3 minutes after it happens. They're the ones posting new beginnings after opening a savings account with $300 in it. And then they wonder why financial pressure multiplies like gremlins exposed to water. The wealthy know something simple: being underestimated is lucrative. When no one sees your growth, no one interferes with it. Punchline: poor people want admiration, rich people want freedom. Guess which one quietly wins? 10. The rule of being addicted to long-term ownership, not short-term pleasure. This rule is the foundation of real wealth. Rich people buy things that pay them, not things that impress people for 48 hours. They're obsessed with ownership. Businesses, buildings, land, shares, intellectual property, cash-flowing assets. They collect ownership the way broke people collect notifications. Meanwhile, poor and middle-class people treat purchases like emotional band-aids. They buy things to feel better: new clothes for confidence, new phone for status, new gadget for entertainment, new car to deserve something nice. And the irony? These purchases don't solve anything. They just anesthetize the pain until the credit card bill sobers them up. Rich people buy assets that outlive them. Poor people buy liabilities that barely outlast the receipt. Example: a wealthy person sees $1,000 and thinks, "This could buy me shares that pay me forever." A broke person thinks, "New shoes. I need them to feel like my life isn't falling apart." One creates generational wealth. The other creates mood swings. Punchline: rich people buy the future. Poor people buy the present. Guess which one gets more expensive over time? 11. The rule of turning every loss into leverage. Rich people don't fear mistakes. They weaponize them. While broke people treat every financial setback like a tragedy that must be mourned with fast food and self-pity, rich people treat losses like data points. They ask, "What did this teach me? How do I never repeat it? How do I make this mistake pay me later?" They don't spiral emotionally. They investigate. They adjust. They pivot. They learn. In their world, a loss isn't a failure. It's tuition. Meanwhile, the average person interprets every setback as a universal sign to give up. Lost money on a business idea? That's why I don't invest. Got scammed once? See? Everything's a scam. Made a bad purchase? I can't be trusted with money. Rich people analyze. Poor people panic. Example: a wealthy entrepreneur loses $50,000 on a bad project, studies why, builds a system, and later makes $500,000 avoiding the same mistake. A broke person loses $200 on crypto and swears off investing forever. Punchline: the rich don't avoid pain. They convert it into profit. Your mistakes are either your prison or your power. 12. The rule of treating income. Streams like Pokemon. Gotta catch them all. Here's a rule wealthy people never break. One income stream is a guaranteed path to lifelong stress. Rich people collect income streams like rare cards, rental income, dividends, royalties, business profits, interest, consulting, automation, licensing, partnerships, whatever pays. Meanwhile, middle-class people cling to one paycheck like it's a life raft. Lose the job, lose the income, lose the income, lose the stability, lose the stability. Welcome to panic mode. Population, you. Rich people intentionally build income redundancy. If one stream dries up, 10 more keep flowing. They're financially bulletproof because they never rely on a single source. Poor people don't diversify. They gamble with job security, hoping their employer never decides they're no longer essential. Spoiler, companies always decide that eventually. Example, a wealthy person wakes up and 5 different income streams deposited money while they slept. A broke person wakes up and checks if payday is today, even though it isn't. Punchline, multiple incomes make you powerful. One income makes you fragile, and rich people refuse to live fragile. 13. The rule of never solving problems with emotion. Only with numbers. Rich people swear by this rule like it's printed on the first page of their secret financial Bible. Feelings are for people who can afford them. Numbers are for people who want to stay rich. Whenever a decision involves money, wealthy people treat emotions like viruses, dangerous, contagious, and to be quarantined immediately. They don't buy because they're excited. They don't invest because they're hopeful. They don't panic sell because they're nervous. They run the numbers, evaluate the math, and act like emotionless robots with excellent credit scores. Meanwhile, broke people let emotions drive their financial lives like a toddler steering a truck. They buy things because they're sad, stressed, bored, jealous, or because their coworker Karen got one first. They invest only when markets are euphoric and cash out as soon as someone tweets the word recession. Example, a rich person sees a market crash and thinks, everything just went on sale. A broke person sees the same crash and thinks, I'm dying, sell everything, save me. Wealthy people let spreadsheets make decisions. Poor people let feelings make disasters. Punchline, money doesn't care how you feel, only what you do. The rich obey numbers, the poor obey emotions. One gets wealthy, the other gets a new wave of panic every month. 14. The rule of making their environment. Do half the work. Rich people follow this principle obsessively. Don't rely on discipline. Build an environment that makes discipline unnecessary. They shape their surroundings so aggressively that success becomes the default and failure requires effort. Their calendar is automated. Their bills are automated. Their investments are automated. Their habits are architected into their daily structure like hidden cheat codes. Meanwhile, broke people rely entirely on motivation, that unreliable, unstable, flimsy spark of energy that disappears faster than payday. They tell themselves, this time I'll stick to my budget, then walk into a mall full of 85% off signs like lambs entering a wolf convention. Rich people remove temptation. Poor people surround themselves with it. A wealthy person makes saving unavoidable. They automate transfers, hide money from themselves, and lock their lifestyle at a fixed level. A broke person keeps all their money in the same account, then acts shocked when they accidentally spend it on impulse buys. Example, rich people pay someone to clean their fridge so healthy food is easier to grab. Broke people keep expired yogurt next to a takeout menu and then blame their bad habits. Punchline, you don't rise to your goals. You fall to your environment. Rich people build winning environments. Poor people build convenient excuses. 15. The rule of buying assets. Their future self will thank them. For here's a rule wealthy people treat like gospel. Every purchase must either grow their net worth or protect their future. There's no in-between. They think in decades, not days. They prioritize future them over present them. Which sounds simple until you realize most people treat future them like a stranger they hope never to meet. Rich people plant financial trees whose shade they may never sit under, real estate that pays them forever, investments that keep compounding, skills that open bigger opportunities, businesses that scale, systems that operate without them. insurance that covers risks before they appear. Meanwhile, broke people make decisions based on instant gratification. They prioritize present them, which means future them gets stuck cleaning up the mess. New shoes now? Chuck, no savings later. Car upgrade now? Chuck, debt later. Vacation now? Panic later. Impulse buy now and regret later. Example, a wealthy person spends $5,000 on a course that increases their earning power. A broke person spends $5,000 on a trip to find themselves. But the only thing they find is that their bank account is missing. Punchline? Rich people buy what pays them back. Poor people buy what pays them emotionally. Only one builds wealth, and hint, it's the one that thinks past Friday. 16. The rule of protecting wealth with the same obsession used to build it. Here's a rule rich people treat like a law of physics. Making money is half the game. Keeping it is the real battle. Wealthy people sweat the boring protective stuff. Insurance, tax planning, legal structures, diversification, disaster planning, risk management. It's not sexy, but it's why their wealth survives disasters, recessions, lawsuits, and their own stupidity. Meanwhile, broke and middle-class people avoid anything that feels complicated or annoying. They'll spend 3 hours reading reviews for a blender, but won't spend 5 minutes understanding their insurance. They'll stress for weeks about a $200 purchase, but casually ignore a financial structure that could save them $20,000. Rich people think like paranoid CEOs. What if I get sued? What if this investment fails? What if this property burns down? What if the economy collapses? Then they build protections so these issues become inconveniences, not catastrophes. Example, a wealthy person loses a rental property but insurance pays them more than they bought it for. A broke person loses a car in an accident and spends the next 6 months taking buses and blaming fate. Punchline? Building wealth is offensive strategy. Keeping wealth is defensive strategy. The rich play both sides. The poor don't even know there are two halves. 17. The rule of treating networking like a money-making superpower. Wealthy people understand something that broke people consistently ignore. Your network isn't social, it's financial infrastructure. Rich people build relationships like investors, build portfolios. They diversify, they maintain, they leverage, they connect with people who create opportunities, not chaos. Meanwhile, broke people network only when they need a job, a favor, or sympathy. They reach out in moments of crisis and wonder why doors don't open for them. Rich people cultivate long-term alliances. They treat conversations as investments. They remember names, they follow up, they connect others. They provide value without expecting instant returns, because they know returns always come later. Example, a wealthy person gets a call about an exclusive opportunity because someone they helped 5 years ago remembered their generosity. A broke person sends 50 cold messages on LinkedIn when they get laid off and wonders why nobody answers. Rich people don't collect friends, they collect allies, and not in a manipulative way, but in the sense that every relationship has potential energy waiting to be activated. Punchline, your connections are compounding interest in human form. The rich curate powerful networks. The poor complain the world is unfair while talking only to people as broke as they are. 18. The rule of playing a completely different game. While everyone else argues about the rules, here's the final, most ruthless rule rich people follow, the one that explains everything. They're not playing the same financial game as everyone else. Middle-class and broke people argue about budgeting, saving tips, coupon hacks, minimalism, and whether avocado toast is destroying their future. Meanwhile, wealthy people skip the entire debate and go straight to system building, asset acquisition, and strategic leverage. While broke people fight over scraps, rich people buy the bakery. While the middle class argues about rent versus buy, the wealthy negotiate tax benefits on buildings they never step foot in. While everyone else waits for permission, rich people create the rules, rearrange the rules, or buy someone who already controls the rules. And here's the part that stings. Rich people aren't smarter, they're just playing a game designed to reward long-term thinking, delayed gratification, strategic patience, and relentless leverage. Everyone else is distracted by noise, trends, feelings, and fear. Example, middle-class people save slowly for retirement. Rich people build systems that spit out retirement-level cash every month. Broke people fear risks. Rich people fear stagnation. The average person wants comfort. The wealthy want control. That's the entire game. Not fair, not equal, not emotional, just reality. Punchline: rich people win because they decided to play a different game, and everyone else is too busy arguing to notice the board exists. So tell me, which rich person rule are you breaking the hardest right now?